Right, so this is my Bahco Laplander. I've had this one for getting on for 10 years. It's the second one I bought because I managed to lose one, because as you can see they're pretty well camouflaged. This is why, if you're not using it and you're not putting it back in your pack, hang it up somewhere and make sure when you check before you leave wherever you're doing some bushcrafting that you pick it up and you make sure you take it with you. Always have like a final sweep of where you've been camping to make sure you haven't left any kit behind, because it's littering and you lose your kit. And this particular folding saw has served me amazingly well over the years. I've cut firewood with it, I've done craft stuff with it, I've even used it instead of trying to find a saw for doing DIY at home. It's a really good saw. As with all of the equipment you're going to see in this series, can you get cheaper versions of it? Yes. Have I had to buy them? No, because when I started doing bushcraft, my main inspiration was Ray Mears, and this is the saw he used. So yeah, it's a really good saw. It's cross cut, so it cuts through stuff really quick, and yeah, the blades last an amazingly long time. I haven't really felt the urge to get a replacement blade for this one. It is the very best. It will cost you about 25 quid in the UK, and God knows how much it will cost you elsewhere, you know. But if you're just starting out with bushcraft and you're not sure you're going to be into it, yeah, you're probably better off buying a cheaper cross-cut saw. You know, a folding pruning saw will do you just as well when you're starting out. It's up to you to decide whether you want to buy, you know, one of the best saws there is. I mean, there are better saws. You can get a silky saw, but you'll be paying quite a bit of money for one of those, certainly more than you pay for one of these. So yeah, the Bahco Laplander saw. Now, as always, I'm going to talk a little bit about upgrades. The first upgrade that I made for this is I used a piece of seatbelt material and some standardized webbing to make a box sheath. So that's one piece of seatbelt material, and then that's wrapped round and on itself to give yourself as big a belt loop as you've got material for. You can see there. And leave it open at the bottom like I have, because there's no need to really do a hell of a lot of fit and finish on this. It's just a webbing box that's the right length for the saw, so you can put it on your belt, and you can put it back on your belt when you're finished using it if you're wandering around camp. It's a very good and cheap way to not lose it. You can buy leather scabbards, you can always get someone else to make one of those for you. And the second upgrade, as you can see on here, on the leather thong, I've wrapped the thong about a third of its length to close off the lanyard, and that's a survival lily tip, because if I was going to listen to anyone about bushcraft, it's generally going to be her, more so than a lot of other people, because she does not take risks when she's out in the woods. You know, you're not supposed to take risks. You don't want to break a limb, you don't want to injure yourself, because that will cut your bushcraft short, rather, you know, your bushcraft trip amazingly short. So close off that lanyard, don't let it catch on stuff. You could lose your saw, you could catch yourself on stuff when you're clambering down things, you could injure yourself purely because you've got this big open loop of things that just loves to get caught on stuff. So take a bit of string, wrap it round, do it the same way you do a paracord handle, and you just stop that problem from happening. And the reason I've left it open at the top and bottom end a bit is that the top end, where the knot is, it's you know, like I was saying earlier, you might want to, you know, hang it off a tree while you're working, because you want that tool close to hand because you're using a different tool. And I've left it open at the end nearest the saw, so it gives that lanyard a chance to sort of like move about if it needs to. So yeah, open lanyards, bad idea. So yeah. And there's a view of the saw open. As you can see, it's got a very tough finish, and although I've taken the finish off some of the teeth, and they're arranged opposite each other to give you a really good cut, and I've used it a lot. You know, I've processed firewood with it, I've made woodland projects with it. It's good for just quickly ripping through a piece of wood. You know, for a bit of your sort of like, you know, you're not so precise cutting, it's brilliant. It's great for just chopping down firewood quickly and doing all sorts of stuff. So yeah, the Bahco Laplander saw. It's an amazing piece of kit. You can get cheaper, but I haven't felt the need to replace this. I haven't looked at other saws and gone, ooh, that's where my bushcraft kit needs upgrading. It's just a really good saw. It works straight out the gate. Apparently, you know, friends of mine have bought replacement blades for it. When Dean came camping with me last week, he fitted, just before he came out, the new Bahco Laplander blade to it, and it was great. But yeah, this just doesn't need, I haven't felt the urge to do it. You don't make that many saw cuts when you come bushcrafting occasionally, and it's just a great piece of kit. But do make a sheath for it, or if you're feeling like you got too much money, buy one off eBay. You know, plenty of people make a leather sheath for it that will look all nice and pretty. It won't have as big a belt loop on it as my one has, which means that I can probably also put it through well, I can, I know I have, I've done it, put it through a rucksack belt if you want to. It's not sealed at the top, but how many handstands are you going to do? So yeah, modify your kit in a way that makes sense to you. Try not to do any terrible permanent modifications to it, but you know, you can make extra add-ons. I think that the closed lanyard is a good idea, and I think having a holster for it is an excellent idea, and also keeps it out of your way in your pack. I just made it out of black webbing and seatbelt material because that's what I had to hand. You just get a, you know, something that's about belt thickness, you know, fold it back on itself to make the belt loop, and then join it together and just overstitch it with black cotton. Take you about 45 minutes to make one. Anyway, that wraps up my, it's got to be, I've got to have had it for about 8 years, review of the Bahco Laplander. I would say I've never felt the urge to get another one, and you can't get a better review than that, and I have used it a lot. So thanks for watching, do take care.